Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Liefx Lounge. We've done it. We've landed on a name. It's the name of my Discord. Why not carry it over? Similar branding. No need to go Sony on this and have the worst branding ever. Anyways, thanks everyone that's watching on Spotify, on YouTube, wherever you are. Join the others. Get in the comments on the YouTube channel, subscribe, and if you're on Spotify, hit follow. But let's get into the episode here. Today on the episode, we have the legendary, I always do this, you're going to get thrown off. It's Ben Lacy, aka Feer. Sorry, everyone gets thrown off by the name, but it brings some human to
for
it,
sure.
you know, because we are humans.
Yeah, no, I had Ben Lacy as my Twitter for a while, and then I went to a Rocket League event, and everyone who was like a Twitter main was all just like, Ben, talk to me about Ben. I'm like, I don't hate it, but I do think I should just switch it back to Fear because I do think it makes more sense to just be Fear in the gaming scene. But yeah, no worries with that. Ben Lacy works too.
Yeah, it's a weird one because we've talked about this with other guests before, but like, I also have my name on my Twitter, right? Like my handle is Liefx, but my name is Brody Moore. Right. But it is still odd sometimes to hear your name in a gaming environment where everyone else is using their tags and monikers to then hear your name thrown out, especially from someone you might not know. You're like, whoa,
right?
I don't know you like that.
No, it's interesting because I was like super excited to get called Fear when I first started doing this stuff because it's a little bit of a sign of like success in the gaming side that anybody knows you as Fear, right. So that was cool. But I don't mind. I mean, I know there's a conversation that people were having if esports should just switch to names like regular sports, and I don't think it'd be the worst thing in the world if it happened. I haven't thought about it too much, right. But I mean, it makes a little bit of sense. It's tough when like people pick their 11-year-old like gamer names and stick with them, and then you have to like try and pretend like it's a really serious sport that you're watching. So, but I go either way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, for anyone that doesn't know Fear, you're weird. But of course, he's been commentating in Rocket League. Let's talk about that journey because for me, it was like I didn't really see I think I know where the roots are for you in your journey through Rocket League. But let's do the boring thing and recap what you've probably already recapped a million times, and get your journey through even before that esports into Rocket League and the commentating now, especially with the 1v1s. So what's where was Baby Fear's first introduction into the world of like competitive video games?
I guess it was probably, competitive video games to like the esports level. I mean, the first time I really got involved in like watching any of the esports was I feel like probably Rocket League. I'm trying to remember what esports I watched before that. Yeah. But like in terms of competitive gaming, I would say that my early competitive games was like playing Call of Duty and stuff, but I don't even think those were like ranked. I don't think those were ranked games. So I don't know if I count them.
Do you do game battles at all?
No.
Also, RIP game battles. They shut down recently.
Oh,
game battle. Yeah, it was a platform. I don't know if you know, it was a platform that let you you could wager money and it would just create lobbies and you could play. Like I did it with Call of Duty. I would just 1v1 people like snipers, just no scoping, and you could battle like $10, $5 here and there.
Oh wow, that's cool.
And there was also a ladder, so you could like rank up essentially. Like it was to me, it was like the perfect introduction for anybody wanting to test their foot in competitive environments. It was really cool.
Right. Yeah, I was like, I guess I can't remember if there even was ranked back when I was playing Call of Duty, or if it was just like not even skill-based matchmaking, like lobbies. Like that was like one of my main gaming things. But where I get my name Fear from is from my WoW character that I played like competitive arenas in. So that was like me and my two brothers and then two friends in a 5v5 team, and we're like grinding to get as high as possible. And we got to like I think we might have gotten to like the SSL of WoW. Like we were Gladiator. I think it matches up with SSL. It might be a little bit under that.
I know nothing about WoW, so I can't like corroborate here, but
yeah. It's the highest. So there's the highest rank, and then there was like rank 1. That rank 1 was the only thing ahead of us, which back in the day, I mean, we get really into WoW lore, was literally just for one team. It was literally the guy or the team that was rank 1. And then there was different groups. There was different battle groups. So it's the rank 1 team in each battle group. But we weren't rank 1. We were just Gladiator, which is at the worst, it's Grand Champ. It might have also been near like SSL level. So that was my first competitive, and that's like the only competitive team gaming I've done, which is like I look back on it very fondly. It was a good time. And when I very minorly dabbled in Rocket League team gaming, it like instantly reminded me of how fun that was when we used to do it. But yeah, as far as like competitive gaming, that's probably where it started. And then
Okay.
back to casual for the most part. Like I didn't really go hard in any game until Rocket League showed up many years
Right.
later.
Yeah, it was. I feel like Rocket League was really a catalyst for a lot of people because of how easy it was to get into, right? Like it just. I mean, for you, you said it was um, the teamwork aspect of it. Like it was for me, it was just like, oh, the ball is really fun to hit.
Oh, right.
So for you, like you really enjoyed like the team aspect. You didn't? Did you do ones?
No, so I should say when I talk about the teamwork that I've done in Rocket League, I'm talking about when I've been playing for a really long time, and we did like I never really did 6-mans, but I think we did like a qualifier for LCS because anybody can, right? And we just like lost both of our games and went out. But getting into that team environment and like calming, I'm like, oh, that reminded me of when I used to play, and I understand why people like love doing that so much. But as far as getting into just Rocket League in general, I liked it because I think it was just really hard, and I could tell that there was clear improvement to be had. I don't know. I remember thinking this is really tough, and then finding out on YouTube videos that like people could fly. Because I started playing like in August 2015, so maybe like the month after it came out. So I was pretty early when people weren't doing a ton of crazy stuff. But we were just like playing bots, and we found out like, oh, you can jump and use the boost and keep going in the air. And I was like, wow, there's so much stuff to do. So I just picked up on that. I've always been like a lock in on one game kind of dude. So I've locked in on Rocket League since pretty much it came out. I haven't locked in on any other game really since Rocket League. So, but I almost never party with people. I don't do twos with anybody. I solo queue everything. So in that sense, it's not like I'm gaming with people. It just eventually, once I've been doing it for a long time and I did the qualifiers, that reminded me of my WoW days.
Right. Yeah. No, I think overall it was the fact that you had good team play plus the ability to just individually get so good at it. Because I came from Smash Bros. Right before I was doing Smash Brothers Melee, which is a very technical game. And I mean, I was a Jigglypuff, so I didn't have to do that much technical stuff. But it was a very technical game. So coming into Rocket League and seeing those mechanics start to develop, as you said, a couple months after people were playing, you're like, oh, you can fly, you can then once we discovered wave dashing, it's like, oh my god, how much more
there's always
is there
more
in this? And then years later we get flip resets, stealing shots. It's cool how it's continually evolved. And you even see people on the hunt now because it's so much bigger, like people on the hunt for mechanics. Half the time they're just renaming a variation of a flick but that already exists. But it's cool seeing like the zap dash or hell jumps or those wall jumps, whatever they're gonna end up, the Felix jumps or whatever.
I know what you're talking about, but
but yeah, like seeing those cool little things come out that developers never intended for made Rocket League feel like a really cool thing. But in still at its roots was something so familiar to everyone because you get to watch people play as a team, pass a ball and score it. At its core, it's so simple, which was really wonderful. But for you, so then in Rocket League, what was your flow there? I mean, like to get to the point where you're at right now, being essentially a household name when it comes to Rocket League and casting.
So I always liked playing Rocket League. I was always locked in on that as a game. And I always knew about streaming. Mainly, I didn't watch a ton of Twitch, but I knew that I have a buddy in high school who played WoW as well. He actually didn't play with us, but we knew of him because he was really good at WoW, and he just like never stopped with WoW ever. And he started just streaming himself and kept going. And so now he actually had a recent huge surge with WoW Classic becoming like a big thing.
Yeah,
but he's a very big WoW streamer. His name is Zaryu, if anybody knows him. But so I've always knew that like streaming could be a job, and it's like technically possible because someone I know had done it. But I never really planned on doing that myself, and I never had a computer that was good enough. Then Fortnite came out, and my computer couldn't run Fortnite, so I said, "Screw it! I'm just gonna get a new computer. I should have a new one anyways. It's all I ever do." And
Fortnite.
It was a pretty bad computer.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really bad. It was a hand-me-down computer from my brother, and I at this point I had graduated college and I was like working an engineering job, which is like not a terrible job. I certainly could have gotten a better computer, and I don't know why I didn't. Luckily, Fortnite was the catalyst. Rocket League could run just fine. That was probably the biggest reason why, is because Rocket League's so easy to run that I could still run that, except for Aquadome. I didn't like Aquadome. When Aquadome came out, it kind of made my computer a little tough. So So anyways, I got the new computer, and because I didn't just like upgrade a little bit, I got like a computer that was finally good enough to stream.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a champ, like a champ 1, I think, at the time in Rocket League. And I thought that's a high level gameplay. That's high level gameplay that people would be down to watch. So I started streaming it as well. And I streamed it for a couple years, and I'd always watched Johnny. And I knew that that if I were to like actually try and be a streamer, that I wasn't actually good enough for anyone to really care. That if I'd had to do something like show matches or something. And so I never planned on having any success. I was just doing it for fun. It was a good thing to do after work to like have a different set of goals. And eventually, I pretty shamelessly said, like, I'm going to follow this formula that of my favorite guy who clearly has something working for him. And I just did the one show matches, and I did them long enough time. People started to like them, and I don't know. It just scaled up to where we're at now.
Did you? So what was there a point where you're like, I mean, because this is an ever changing environment, right? But like, was there a point you're like, I succeeded? Have you reached that goal? I mean, because you said it was for fun, so it's hard. Like, there might not even have been goals, right? You're just like, I just want to do this. So, it's, what for you? Did you ever have that kind of moment of like, oh my god, like I'm here with Johnny Boy right now, or I'm like, what was there any of those moments for you?
Yeah, there's definitely a few of them. The first biggest moment, or the ones that I remember most fondly are I never, when I started streaming, like getting Twitch partner or whatever, I was never going to do that. In my head, it's like, I'm just doing this for fun, and Twitch partners are like the legit streamers. So when I realized I was getting the numbers that I would get that, and then finally got that was like, wow, I guess it's kind of working. It's not just like, I'm just doing it for no reason. But that was not really close to like being able to do it as a job yet. The other big one is when I got, which is actually before, I guess it was even earlier than Twitch partner, that one of the first tournaments I ran, I got up to 50 natural viewers. No one had hosted me or anything. It was for my grand final of my tournament. And I was like, wow, people are like showing up for the tournament. Like this content that I made, they're showing up for it. Then shout out my boy King Randy, who ended up rating me and ruining my natural numbers. He gave me a lot more viewers. So it went up higher than 50, but it was the 50 like before I'd ever even got rated. I was like, whoa. Like I'd only streamed to like 8 people, or like at max, like we're talking like 4 to 8 people. And so all of a sudden, like a lot of people are showing up to see this tournament, which means like maybe I can keep doing this stuff. Maybe people will pick up. So that was like the real first time I was seeing some success.
What year was that?
That was 2020.
Okay, so
2020, yeah, because it was I think it was like during when COVID had just kind of started like being a thing that kept everyone inside. So it wasn't 2019, it was like 2020. And then also there's a ton of jokes. My buddy always reminds me at my wedding, which was at the end of 2019, I got like kind of like lightly roasted because at the time I would stream just kind of for fun.
Yeah.
And, it's like almost nobody. And so there were like jokes at the wedding, like, oh, he's going to be a streamer, like that kind of stuff. And then now that I'm where I'm at, like whenever I see one of my buddies who I don't see very often, he's like, remember how people used to joke like you actually did it? Yeah, I guess I did. So it definitely wasn't by 2019. And yeah, I've been inching more and more. I would say the next big mark I'd love to get to is have it be the only thing I'm doing, because I still work my engineering job. So if I got to a point where it made sense to switch and I could do just that, that would be like, I mean, I'm pretty close already. So every milestone when you're sitting back at the beginning feels like it's going to be like, oh, that day when it finally happens, it's going to be crazy. But then in practice, it's like, it's such a slow burn. Like you feel it coming. So even if it were like tomorrow that I could make the switch, it's like, I've kind of felt it coming for a while.
Right.
But that would definitely be, one of the biggest.
It's still a big decision to make.
Yeah.
Right. To just do that. I mean, like, so what engineering do you do?
I do software engineering.
Okay, nice. Yeah. I went to school for programming, and then as is with, it seems to be most talent, dropped out in my final year to go travel Europe, and then ended up in esports afterwards. So
wow.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back into it because I'm like, I need to refresh my coding skills, because like I mean, a lot of it's once you understand the logic, a lot of it just is memorization of the language itself, right? Just
I mean, syntax. Or not even memorizing it. You just look it up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But I'd like to kind of refresh myself and get into it, because making stuff is still fun. So if you did make the switch, and you stopped
Mm.
doing engineering and you just moved into this stuff, would you still code stuff on your side? Do you think you'd still have personal projects? Like, it was coding something that was a passion for you as well that turned into work, or was it something that you saw as just okay, this is a good career path, I got to take that?
It was something that I did when in like high school. My dad
Right.
was he had two jobs. He was like working actually at the place that I work now, and he also had like a side website thing that he'd been working on. So he had known coding and stuff, and
Okay.
so he gave us like small jobs working for him in like summers and stuff. So I kind of learned how to do it there and thought it was pretty fun. So that's kind of where I had it. I never like because I kind of made it my job quickly. I didn't have a ton of side stuff. There's some people who are like super into it, who like work the
Right.
job and then go home and work it more. Like that's definitely not me. But I think I do it a little bit. Like I have some scripts and stuff that I'll write to
Right.
help me out with Rocket League stuff. Like I use ball chasing, and I have like a script that like goes through and looks for like interesting replays and stuff, so that I don't have to look for it manually. So
Right. Right.
things
Right.
like that. If I found ways, I also made a bot for my Discord that runs like 1v1 scrims that still
Oh,
goes
that's
on
awesome.
to this day, which is neat. Although I don't really take care of it much anymore. Mods have taken over, take care of it. It took too much brain power from me when I was,
Right.
trying to focus on the content stuff. But so would I do stuff like that still? Probably. And my guess is if you cut me off from it fully, maybe then I'd start finding places to use it more. Right
Right.
now I get it satiated all the coding that I want to do from work. So I definitely don't do a ton after. So I'm not sure what would happen if I fully switched though.
Yeah, no, it's just interesting because I know a lot of times uh, I have rarely met people that are coders, like their job is engineering,
Mhm.
that don't want to, like they're just like, I just did it because it's a job to do. Like I'm sure there's not a lot of janitors that really love their work, but like they do it
Sure.
because they need the job. So for coders, I found a lot of people that do it are just people that to some degree just really enjoy coding.
Right.
So it's interesting because I always see these engineers doing projects in the background, or they have their own little thing they build, even if it's just something, like your own tool, like a bot that you've made. It's usually
Mhm.
never just finish work, done, no coding ever, that's it.
Right.
There's usually
Yeah,
something
my
else going on.
my background project is Rocket League though, the channel and the YouTube
Right.
video and
Okay.
Twitch.
Yeah.
So I'd have to have a third project if I was gonna add, more coding on top. So
Yeah. I feel like what you did though was what they say to do in like stock markets and everything else too, is when there's a seemingly there's a problem, there's a dip, invest because you'll come out the other side a lot better. And it seems like that happened kind of for you, is like you started investing your time into streaming Rocket League stuff around, when the world's like, what's going on? And
mhm.
now you come out the other side of it. Like it just, I just want to comment, it looked true. Like it's a very true thing, and you're proof of that on the other side of
Right.
it, which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
streamed for many years before the big moment when streaming took a boom in 2019 or when 2020. But I just I swapped to doing show matches and stuff because playing the game made me sad. I don't know. I'm like too competitive. I say sad. It really made me mad. I just didn't like losing like a losing session and then I had to get off after a losing session. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
I don't feel good for the rest of the night. Whereas like doing show matches and stuff, like there was really no way to lose. I guess if like nobody showed up at all and didn't come watch it, then I'd probably feel the same way. But
Yeah.
it's much tougher to lose, so I'd end streams happier. So like, yeah, let's just do this only,
Yeah.
and then it took off.
It's really tough because like you take any time away. I don't know if you've noticed this too, but you take any time away from streaming, that can hurt you. Like,
Yeah.
like I started focusing on my YouTube a lot more, and then when I come back, I only get maybe 3 streams a weekend now. And when I come back, my numbers were not super big. It was like, but I was averaging, anywhere from 20 to 30 viewers,
Mhm.
and no matter what I did. But now recently I've been starting some streams, and I feel like I've just completely lost touch with what my previous audience wanted, because I'll go into streams and have 3 viewers for
That
an
I
hour or
mean,
something. Yeah.
it was exactly the same. Like, especially, I don't. I mean, I guess it just happens at a bigger scale. But I definitely remember that early on, or like in that viewer range, it's like it seems like it's almost all about just being available and like
Hmm.
being streaming. and when you don't, it just fully like it tanks. I remember like trying to explain to my wife at the time too. I'm like, I kind of have to get a stream in because if I don't, like it just falls away.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's tough. I mean, I'm hoping that you talked about getting like your YouTube going. Like I think right now I don't stream a ton even now because I don't get matches all the time. I'm a pretty low volume streamer for sure,
Right.
and it's kind of held up by the YouTube. So hopefully, if you can get like the YouTube or something going, another avenue, it can kind of prop you up a little bit. But
I
yeah,
mean,
it's tough out there for Twitch
my
streamers.
my last video I just put out. So I have multiple channels. There's this
Mm.
channel, the podcast. I have my Star Citizen channel, which is my main one. That's the biggest one right now. My newest video just made 50% of what I made on Twitch in the whole last month, and I made that on one YouTube video in 2 days. Right, so it definitely feels like the investment needs to be in YouTube
I mean,
over everything.
yeah, I mean, even for me, I mean, I think YouTube was the reason why I started going too. I would take the show matches and I'd put them on YouTube, and I remember at the time, my mod only Ray, he would tell me like, you got to upload them on YouTube, and I'm like, dude, it doesn't matter. I upload them on YouTube and they get 3 views or something like that. Like what? Like
Right.
it's not even worth that extra time. But obviously, in retrospect, like it definitely was. Like sure, it took a while to get the momentum going, but now
Right.
it's the whole core. And I mean, you hear the big streamers talk about that too. Like you just can't grow on Twitch; you have to grow somewhere else. And
Right.
I thought at the time, I think I had 500 Twitch followers, and I had not started my YouTube. And so I was like, I'm never gonna catch back up. Why
Mm-hmm.
even start the YouTube? I'm so far ahead, and obviously, relatively now, that seems silly, but
Yeah.
you just have to power through it, I guess. Have to recognize the end goal and what the end goal looks like, and how you have to just work through the muck, I guess, first till you get there.
Well, that's a hard thing when you're taking L's after L, right? Just like, oh, why is it not growing? Why is it not growing? Like I've been doing this for months, and now I'm like trying to see the light at the end of the tunnel, but it's not growing. It's been a year or whatever. It's really hard to keep yourself in that. Did you have a moment where you were like, I can't do this anymore?
Yeah, I did. So for me, the first thing I was going to say is like one of the things that kept me going was the fact that I was like mirroring Johnny, and I can be like, I know this works. Like I know
Right.
what I'm doing works if I do it good enough because I can see it working right here. So
Uh-huh.
that was like nice motivation to keep going. Whereas like a lot of people are trying to like almost blaze a little bit on a trail, but maybe there's no like perfect comparison. And I don't know how those people keep hope. It's tough.
Right.
But for me, I did almost give up. I did it for like a year, and I felt like I was getting pretty good. And most importantly, I felt like I was getting connections with players who were very good and getting good players on my stream to the point where I was like, okay, here's like a game that is it's worthy of a Johnny video. It's like it's good. It's like this is a
Right.
good
Yeah. Yeah.
game,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
almost no one's watching it. So I'm like, maybe I don't have it. Maybe I don't have it. And then that, like right when I was thinking about like maybe I need to be done because it is a little bit of work to do all this, then it took the big jump, which was when RJC he donated me a bunch of money. He actually pre-donated it and said, use this to go find a prize pool. I got Daniel versus AJ, and that one launched it off. So
That's awesome.
but yeah, I was right before that. I was like, dude, I don't know. I've been doing this pretty good for a while, and no one seems to care. So
Yeah, it's really hard when you're doing something that you think you're doing well, or you got that magic piece. You're like, hey, this is it's like a YouTube video. I got the magic thumbnail. I got the magic title. This is great. This is a great concept. Look at oh man, this video is so good. And then yeah, you get a few views. It can really make you question what you're doing wrong. And then I feel like for me, Twitch streaming has done that even more because it's made me question me as a person. Am I not interesting enough for people to talk to? And maybe that's the reality. Maybe that's the truth that I have to live with, right? But it that's what it feels like you do is you start to attack yourself and say, people don't care about me. And it's it's a real it's a moment where you could break and stop, or it's a moment where you could really tune in. Okay, what are the small pieces of me that people might like, and you almost caricaturize those things to create your product and push through.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, for me, that I've had a taste of that, but because I have always, um, the content that I put out is almost not me. It's like it's the players playing 1v1s, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's like I could always disassociate. And for a long time I really did, maybe because I don't have enough self-confidence or something, but I'm like, people are watching not because of me. I could almost mute my mic and people would still watch and maybe they'd even prefer it. Like, maybe
right.
even better. Maybe even holding my own stuff back. And the only thing that's made me feel like maybe isn't true is as a few other people have almost tried to do the same thing with maybe less success. I'm like, okay, maybe the reason why they're having less success is maybe because I'm not terrible at the part where I'm involved.
Right.
But like for example, if I were to go live and my stream is just maybe just me playing the game or not like going to be a show match, I have a tenth, like way less. So to
Right.
me, that's like people being like, you're not that interesting, by the way. I know a ton of us showed up, but that's because we all wanted to watch Zen. And now that Zen's not there and it's just you, we don't really care. So I have that a little bit. But I can always deflect it in the way that like I can just tell myself, well, I don't care that they don't care about me. I'll go get another good match with another good team, a good player, and I'll never have to address the fact that maybe I'm not interesting and I'll
Okay.
just keep getting show matches, you know?
Yeah,
So,
it's hard because again, I don't think, in reality, I don't think either one of us are uninteresting people, in any regard. But it really is hard to maintain that when you're right, when all of a sudden it's like, oh, people only want to watch my content for something um, that's not even me. I guess a way you could look at it is like, well, people really like watching that other thing because of the work you put in to create that thing, right? Which
mhm.
is still your value towards that thing. How do you I mean, I guess you say you just deflect it. Like I was going to say, how do you deal with any of those negative emotions? Do you have a process in life, just in general, not even with Rocket League or streaming? Like, do you have a process that helps you overcome any of those moments that feel like you as a character are deflated?
That's a tough question. I think that having my wife helps maybe in terms of
Someone around is huge. Yeah.
processing, yeah, someone else to just like talk about the downs with. But I've always locked in on the goal. And so, if things are getting down like that, I I think I do a decent job of being self-critical of being like,
Mm-hmm.
well, it's not that I'm unlucky. It's not that it's because I'm not doing something good enough.
Okay.
And I just look to the people who are doing good enough,
Right.
and I look and see what is it that I like. How am I not relating to that? But that's not a great question for. That's almost like getting sad, denying it, and just grinding harder. That's kind of like. So how do I actually deal with it? Maybe not very healthily, but I've recently this last year I've been grinding super super hard as I've tried to like convert. And interestingly, um, because of what's going on in the world right now of Rocket League with this salt mine tournament, I
Right.
think like all of the focus, at least is what I'm telling myself, has kind of shifted understandably to that tournament because it's like the best thing Ones has ever seen. And so my uh stats, all like my kind of stuff, it's like taking like a dive in the meantime,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm explaining as that, but because I teetered on the edge of being able to switch, and then I recently took like a drop that's like if the current trend continued, no way I could switch. It's
Right.
kind of like, oh, I can't do it, or like I'm not going to do it soon. So I finally don't have to like like stress about it as hard.
Okay. I see. Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. I've been because either way that it went, I'd like to imagine I'd lose the stress if it went really high and it's like, oh, I can easily do it and not worry about it. Awesome, now I can not stress. But it also worked out the same way that it dipped the past couple of months, and I'm like, oh, okay, I can't do it. There's no way I could do it. No stress. So
It's interesting. As I fail, it's like no stress. Cool. I'm failing.
yeah.
It is. It feels like a constant, especially with how aggressive just our days are in terms of being bombarded with content. How hard it is for a creator, to stay in that mix from day to day, whether it's something as simple as being relevant with a tweet a day on, that people see on Twitter, or whether it's a weekly YouTube video so people don't forget you're there, or a community post, or a stream, because like again, streaming is so easy to get forgotten about. We talked about that
Mhm.
before. It's just you don't stream for a week, people suddenly have a new go-to that they'll watch on their daily, and they're not coming to you
Yeah.
anymore. So it's so hard to maintain that mentally, that I kind of get your relief of being like, okay, well, I don't have to, but then you still want to get back to it, right? But
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
interesting that relief from looking at something potentially failing is there, and then you question, is this healthy for me to be doing?
Yeah.
Because of that realization.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough question. Um, I like to tell myself that it's okay. At times I've wondered. It's definitely like my biggest stressor. My other job is just so low stress. Like,
Right.
it's like so the doing Rocket League, doing content, doing something on my own. It's like so much higher stress, to the point where I'm like, is this the right answer to just chill out and do the least stress thing? But
Mhm.
I don't think I could. I don't think I could accept it. Um, I think the whole reason why I had started streaming in the first place was because I started working and I was doing just my low stress job and nothing else, and like maybe brain wasn't getting worked enough, and so I'm like,
Right.
I was getting really sad. Like, what am I doing? That's why I started doing it in the first place. Um, it's kind of, it makes me think of this example. I don't know if it's a good one to use on the podcast, but we just had a kid not even a couple months ago, like 5 weeks ago.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. But my wife, who's a resident, like a medical resident, when we're with the kids, she's talked about like, maybe I should just stay at home all the time, and I'm like, I kind of know who she is. I'm like, you couldn't do that. I mean, you might want to now, but like, you're just
Right.
such a grinder, you're such like a hard worker, such a striver to like for greatness. Or like, she's like her chief resident or whatever, and she's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. And I'm like, I know who you are. You wouldn't accept your like any
Right.
less of yourself. Like you have such a ambition that that you have to do it.
Right.
You're stuck with it. Maybe it's a sickness of ambition, but it's yours and you got to live through it. So I think in that way, I'd have to keep doing it, because I think without it, I'd probably nosedive.
Right. Yeah, I think for you, it's like, from my opinion, from the outside, it looks like a good idea just to keep the day job for now, because it does feel like something that will allow you to do this other stuff a lot more stress free, because it
Mhm.
feels like the stress came from having to make sure that this streaming
Right.
and Rocket League stuff did succeed, so you didn't need the other one. But if
Mhm.
you're saying, well, I'm just going to keep it indefinitely, now you can do the other one as with the best mental, and I feel like better products always come out when you're not stressing about that product you're trying to make, right?
For sure. Yeah, and I think another thing that I've talked about before, is that part of my success, I think, is because I have my other job, all the additional funds that streaming made, which at first when I made my mind up about this was like $100 every 2 months, like they'd give me the Twitch payout. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't need an extra $100 compared to my other job. I'll just use that $100 for exclusively stream things, whether it's
Right.
getting something new for the stream or running a prize pool. So I did that for a
Reinvest.
long time. And I did that to the point where it like didn't really make a ton of sense anymore. I was spending like a lot of money on prize pools. I did a $5,000 tournament in November
Mm-hmm.
of last year, and then right after that, I wanted to do a max prize pool tournament. They changed the rules from 5,000, and they allowed community tournaments to be 15,000.
Right.
So then I did a $15,000 tournament, and then I was like, okay, it's time to start paying myself instead. So this whole year I've been like paying myself and leaving a little bit over the top, but that could be, you could argue that's a reason. Like, those are maybe one of the reasons why people were loving my tournaments. Everything was going, was because I was spending all the money on it, and they were getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right.
So there's an argument to say, stop paying myself again and keep using it all on the content until it gets so big that then I can afford to maybe somehow do both, like both pay for the tournaments and
Right.
pay for myself. So there's a little bit of that too. I'm wondering, oh, did I do it too soon? It, it's it's easy to question yourself, but like I said, recently I've been like, oh, like a reset almost. I'm just gonna get back to what I always done, and hopefully it works out.
That's good. So I want to uh transition a bit then into how, I guess, this new environment that you're living in as a father changes anything for you? Do you feel like, because that's a lot of stress. I mean, like, I'm assuming you're not sleeping much.
Nope.
It's a lot of stress. I mean, I feel like your life changes quite significantly, not even just like in the day to day, but mentally as well. I mean, like, you're in charge of this new life. You have a partner as well that both of you aren't getting sleep, so I'm sure there's some sort of stresses being here and there. So how is that, first off, in itself, and secondly, applied to when it comes to doing this extra content after your day job as well?
The stress. So we're 5 weeks in. So the good news is that my wife has been off work the whole time, and I've been off work some of that too. So when we don't have the other things going on, it's still pretty stressful, but it's
Right.
manageable. It's going to be a little bit different as things start to pick back up. She might have to go. She is going to have to go back to work at some point.
Hmm.
Um, and before we ever had planned on having a kid, I had talked about how I really liked doing this, right? I'm basically working like two jobs in some way.
Right.
So I knew that adding a kid would be like, maybe you can't work two jobs and have a kid.
Mm.
But I had relayed to my wife, I'm like, I think this stuff is like really important to me, being able to do this Rocket League stuff. And
Right.
she's like, yeah, I agree. I see how
That's
that
good.
is for you. Like, we'll try and make it all work. We'll try and make it all work. So we're gonna try. So far it's been not too bad because she's never had to work, so she could just watch him. It's going to be a turning point once she's fully back. I'm
Right.
having to work. I'm having to do streams. We don't have family coming to help out all the time, so we haven't
Mhm.
gotten there yet. That is going to be like the big moments where we'll see if I can keep doing both as much as I want to. The good news is she's on track to be getting us a nice, comfortable job in terms of for the family.
That's
So I'm
awesome.
gonna try and swindle getting to just get rid of my other job because hers is
Yeah.
so comfortable. But we'll see if I'll be able to do that. Um, as far as you said stress in general with the kid. I mean, he's great. He's doing a pretty good job. There's not too much that's gone wrong. So I think that makes it nice.
Yeah, of course.
If there's some problems with the kid or with my wife, it gets a little bit tougher, but it hasn't been too bad. So that's helped. And then in terms of how it applies to the stream stuff, I took a little bit off the stream when he first was born. I had some missing YouTube videos because I used to upload YouTube videos every single day.
Right.
And to be fair, that's like coincided with the dip, but I think it's not the direct cause of it. I think it was already dipping because of other reasons, like I talked
Okay.
about. So I don't know. It's like a little reset. So I'm ready to get going. So far, we've had it figured out, but like I said, 5 weeks. Who knows what's going to happen
Okay.
in
No,
the future?
enough of the stress, the negative emotion. How about the excitement? How's that been?
Oh, it's great.
Because like it's a life changing thing, you know.
Yeah, it's he's great. It's great having a little dude around. I've had some nieces and nephews, so I kind of knew what the experience was going to be like
Right.
a little
Okay. Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's our little dude. He's a great happy dude. He's growing big. Which what else can you ask for? He's growing like he's supposed to. Um, he's he doesn't do a ton of like interacting with us yet, so I think that'll probably be like a big moment, I would imagine. Once he
Right.
starts, he's kind of like he can like track us, he can like see us, but he's pretty early on in his life. He's not like laughing at stuff we're doing to him yet or anything.
Uh-huh.
He mostly just likes to eat and sleep.
It's just taking in the world and
Yeah,
around him at this
he's
point.
trying
Yeah.
to absorb it all, but he's just recently starting to laugh at us. So like it seems like maybe he's responding to things we're doing when he smiles, which um it's just the beginning, I'm sure. So
Yeah.
it's been good. It's been fun.
That's awesome. No, it's cool. It's just it's such a big moment that I think is really, I think for parents is a fun thing. I mean, that's why everyone wants to show their baby pictures, right? But it's a fun moment to
Yeah.
share. I mean, you got to bring this new life into this world, and now you get to see where that life goes. It's no, it's honestly really cool. Um, Oh, I had another. I have ADHD, so I do this thing where in the middle of a sentence, I'll forget about the next thing that I wanted to ask, and then I have to stall and fill like I'm doing right now to be able to try and remember what that other thing was. Um, but I can't quite do. Oh no, I do remember now. I don't want to dwell too much. I feel like we covered a lot of this stuff when it comes to Rocket League, but I did want to ask one more question. In terms of content, do you feel like, have you ever thought about, much like stocks again, diversifying and taking your skills that you learned when it comes to TOing, tournament organizing, and commentating and trying to do like a new upcoming game? Has there been a game that maybe you're like, I really love this game just by myself? Like me as a person,
Mhm.
Ben loves this game. Can I do something for this? Do you have any other games like that you would love to branch out if you got the time? And obviously you have a lot on your plate already, but is there
Yeah.
anything else?
I don't think I necessarily want to, if I were to do more content, like all the skills I've learned of tournament organizing and setting up matches and all that kind of stuff and commentating, I almost, that's not even like necessarily the goal. If I were to swap to another game, commentate another game, doesn't really excite me just because games don't often, I don't latch on to games like I talked about too much. Like
Right,
I
right.
latched on to
That's
Rocket
what you
League and
said,
haven't
yeah.
latched on to any other game since. So it's like there really isn't that. But one of the games I used to play was WoW, and I talked about it before.
Mhm.
WoW is like WoW Classic is like popping off. Like right now, it's meta on Twitch. It's like
Right.
the streamers who just jump to whatever the most popular thing is and never stick to anything, and they're basically just like personal streamers. Those people are playing WoW right now, and I'm like, whoa, wait a second, can I just play WoW and people will like
I
it?
was gonna say, should I
So
be switching to WoW?
yeah, so for that, I was like, oh man, do I need to start just going live with WoW? But I think my heart and brain can't take it because I know if I go live with WoW, I'll just have
But
1/20th, 1/50th of like what the Rocket League people watch. And because I don't actually see a world in which I like switch to that and make it part of it, like I don't see the vision for it. Yeah,
right.
it's not even worth starting because not to mention that WoW streams also just take a ton of time. And one of the best things about the stream now is I can just like pocket stream, like, oh, you have an hour here, pocket stream here, and people will like love my hour stream, and no one feels too mad about the fact that it wasn't longer because that's just like how matches work.
Mhm.
So I don't have a ton of time to like my buddy who streams WoW. He streams it for like 8 hours a day, 6 hours a day. It's
That's
like
insane.
I couldn't possibly do that,
Yeah.
especially not to the amount of success that I would have if I were to do it, which is to like almost nobody. I'm sure that they wouldn't care about WoW. So no pivot necessarily. If I wanted to stream or pivot in content, I'd want it to be like the people who I guess variety. I don't know if they call it variety, but just like a
Yeah.
streamer who's like more just about themselves and can do anything they want because the security in that
Right.
seems really high.
You just hop to a
Like it,
popular game, maybe bring in a new audience even, but you still have your core.
yeah. Just basically when people are coming to you for you, and it just doesn't even matter what you're
Right.
doing. That is like, to me, that's serious security because you can just kind of do whatever you want. Oh, your game you're playing. Oh, no one plays Rocket League anymore. Turns out terrible games. They put some update in. Everyone leaves. But luckily, people only care about me, so I just play this other game. That would be great. But obviously, I'm not in that. And the most Rocket League people too seem like 99.9% tied to Rocket League, and
It's
there's like
hard.
no branching out at all, which is rough because there's no similar games. You can't even like test the waters, but like I'm gonna go play this other similar Rocket League game.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
nope, nothing. So
It really is hard. I'm going to tell you firsthand. I mean, my main channel, Liefx on YouTube, is not Rocket League content. And I wonder if I screwed up doing that because if someone from Twitter that knows me for Rocket League goes to
mhm,
YouTube and says, "Oh, what's Liefx doing?" They type it in. This channel here is called Liefx RL, so it does show up
mhm,
if they just search. Even if they search it, both the channels will pop up, so they'll still find it. But the problem is, for a while, my main channel was Liefx, and if people were searching that, they were not finding Rocket League content,
right.
and vice versa. If people from YouTube decided to go and say, what other socials does he have? And they go search Liefx on Twitter and they go, why is he tweeting Rocket League stuff?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm losing opportunities on cross pollinating those audiences.
Mhm,
And it is really hard because it's like, do I start fresh with a brand new, like, I feel like it would feel nice, as you said, to just have a brand that is about me, not Rocket League or Star Citizen specifically. But that's what
mhm.
it is because it does feel really hard to switch, and switching to SC was really hard
Yeah.
because on Twitter they don't retweet my Star Citizen stuff because they don't care about
Sure.
it, right? So getting that audience is hard. But I've realized the platforms do operate relatively with different, like a majority different audiences.
Mhm,
Like I mean, the people that watch, I'll be honest, I watch hardly any Rocket League content on YouTube. I
yeah.
watch Lethamir. a Sunless Khan video when it comes out here and there. I hate to break it to you, I do not watch 1v1s on YouTube. I'll watch them on Twitch. Like I'll watch when you guys are broadcasting live. I'll tune in. But it's just weird. It's my YouTube. There's just me even as an audience member is a completely different person. I'm a Twitch. I watch it. I'll watch it on Twitch.
Yeah, I don't watch it on Rocket. I don't watch Rocket League on YouTube either, really.
Yeah.
Just because I get so much of it from Twitch, and like I used to watch Johnny all the time on YouTube. Now I don't watch him at all. If I catch him on, I try and catch things live. I feel like I need to be up to date with stuff anyways. I can't really like wait for it to come out, and then so I just keep up with it live, and I spoil it instantly. If I missed it, I go find out what the result was right away. So
immediately, yeah.
And then there's nothing else on YouTube other than like Sunless videos. If someone gets a really interesting concept, I actually watched the most recent Waiting video was pretty good too.
Okay, it did pop up on my feed, but I didn't click it yet.
Yeah, so there's very rare videos for Rocket League. Mostly, I don't know what I watch on YouTube. My favorite thing is stuff made here. That's the first one that came to my head, but he rarely uploads.
Oh yeah, he's got like his workshop and everything, right?
Yeah. That's really cool. And I think I get like kind of nerdy stuff like that mostly on YouTube.
No, that's fair.
More than I get like Rocket League.
Yeah, no, I same. It's interesting. That's why I was not worried about having different audiences, because I'm like, you know what, the people watching my Star Citizen content on YouTube, barely any of them are going to go look for my Twitter, anyways. So I'm not worried about. The worst part of my branding is that my name looks like Liefx instead of Liefx.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to.
I didn't even notice that. Actually, I never noticed that before. So if that helps you, but I guess I've always known as Leaf. I never read it for the first time without knowing what it was.
Right. Yeah. So I get like 50% of the people say Liefx. So I'm currently in the midst of figuring out that branding. I'm trying a capital X on some things to see if it works. But before we go, because I know you didn't have a lot more time here, so I just wanted to ask: is there anything specifically that you wanted to talk about? Because sometimes there's like this cool asteroid they just felt or found, or like this really great sewing video you just watched. Is there anything specifically that you don't get to talk to anybody about that you're like, I quickly got to get this out there?
Not necessarily. I watch. I don't have someone to talk to Super Mario 64 speedruns about.
You got Turtle now.
What's up? Oh yeah, I have Turtle. That's right. I've been watching Turtle. He's been speedrunning a little bit, but he's not I can tell he's not much of a viewer of him. He doesn't, because he's like calling a lot of the tricks all the wrong things, and I'm like,
we're getting exposed. Turtle exposed.
Yeah, I told him live, man. I'm like, you can't be calling it the bridge skip, dude. That's the Lakitu skip, and he kind of knows how to play. But the 120, there's like a big recent jump. Carpetless happened.
Okay.
And I don't know if you follow any Super Mario 64.
So I watched a bit of like Clint in that in the day. I think he took a break, so then I kind of fell off of it. So I've the most recent speedruns I've watched were for Trackmania. I do know a little bit, but not the most. I'm a casual viewer, but catch us up here.
Okay, I'll give you a very quick overview. So 120 is my favorite mode, which is getting all the stars and winning the game. So that's my favorite one to watch. And there's always people trying to find new tricks to make it faster. And for the most part, 120, Super Mario 64, old game, one of the most popular speedrunning games, if not the number one. So people have kind of found all the tricks. And there's one star you get towards late in the game. There's like a really high castle up in the air that they just couldn't find a way to get to without using like a carpet, the way you're supposed to use it, which you stand on the carpet. The carpet goes for like a minute all the way to the top of the building. It's just like, this is super slow. And it was obvious that this was the thing that needed to get fixed in terms of to gain a bunch of time.
Right.
Like nobody finds minute time saves anymore. They find that people make videos over 1 second time saves. They're like, oh, somebody found a 1 second time save. Check it out. So there was like joke ways, like task ways to do carpetless.
Okay.
But no human could possibly do it. And then so like a month ago, they came up with a way. They said, here's this way I think that humans can do carpetless using this like pause buffering and some directionals. And everyone was like, you're right, you can. So everyone trained it for like 2 weeks straight, and all the best players got good at it. And so now there's a minute time save. When people used to be freaking out about 1 second. So it was a speed rush for who gets the first record. Like normally there's like 2 people fighting for a world record. Like you could tell like their runs are pretty good. They could probably get it.
Right.
And but there's like people in the top 10 who could maybe improve their time a little bit, but they never get world record. Now all of a sudden with a minute time save, so many people can get world records. So they're all like rushing to get it. I think the world record was pretty funny. It was like barely a world record by like a second or so, which is funny because you know that run compared to the previous one was kind of trash, but then they just hit the trick that got them a full minute back. So anyways, the rush for that has been going on a lot. It's actually probably kind of over because somebody got a run that was really good even in the old way before getting the trick and got the trick. So like,
they did. They did get the trick.
They got carpetless. They got like a pretty much from a pre-carpetless world record to theirs. It's like a 50-second world record. Like kind of all the time was made up with carpetless. So now you need to get like a really good run again to beat them. But that's something I want to talk about it so bad that I'll talk to my wife about it and I'll like teach her so that I can then tell her that like, oh, there's a record that happened. So I maybe don't get to talk about that as much as I'd like to, but
no, that's really cool. Because like, I mean, those massive, especially when you have large, I mean, some of the best things in the world are communities. I mean, like going to Worlds and us all being there celebrating this huge culmination was insane, right? Because we're all there to celebrate it. So having a community get together and then knowing how hard and how much work's gone into these runs already, and then that potential juicy little berry hanging off the tree of like you can take a minute off your time is massive. That's huge. That's actually, I actually didn't hear about that, so thank you for sharing that. So what on that though, what is a pause buffer?
Oh, so I think what it refers to, I'm not even like a pro, I think that's what they're saying. So the way it works is like you line up a jump. There's like a lot of stuff in this in Super Mario where the first time they find it, somebody works out like basically a pragmatic way to get it. Walk here, hold forward this much, this time till you hit a wall, hold left, something that's very repeatable.
Okay.
So they found a very repeatable way to do it. And one of the things you have to do is after hitting like a jump, you need to hold right for 4 frames. And then right after the 4th frame, as going to the 5th frame, you need to hold down, perfectly down, not just like slightly down. So the only way to do that as a human is to hold right, let right go for 4 frames, pause the game, switch to down, unpause the game so that like the instant it switches frames, you're fully in the other direction.
I see.
So that's how they do it now. Like there's a few directions, and at first they're like, okay, you have to hit a 4th frame wall kick, and then you have to do these things. And then somebody found out, oh, there's like 50 different ways that you can do it. If you miss a little bit early, then you can do it this way, that way. So they found all the ways, and then people were like, do we have to memorize all these, or can we just keep them up on a second monitor so that when we start and we're like, okay,
all right, which one am I going to pull out?
Which one am I in? How many frames do I need to hold each? So I think they kind of have that. I think for the most part, the most common ones they've memorized, but yeah, that's what it is. Pause buffering is just you couldn't humanly in one single frame move from perfectly right to perfectly down. So you have to pause the game in order to do that.
Do you speedrun yourself?
I did Super Mario. I'd like Turtle's doing. He did 16-star runs. I did similar ones, and I'm probably like just as good as Turtle was. He's probably better than me now because I haven't played in a while.
Okay,
but that's the only speedruns I've done.
All right, so you found your secondary Twitch channel that you need to open is a speedrun because you know what you're talking about. People watch that. I watch it. I mean, look at again Turtles. People are loving watching Turtles runs.
Yeah, I did some speedrunning. This was before I had got any Steam with Rocket League. So, I would just switch to the game and the same amount of people or a little bit less would watch me, But I haven't done it since then, and maybe I would. The thing is, how do I do it? I want to like get races to the top players, something like that, because I'm not that good at it. So
yet.
But I don't think I would be, because the kid there's another kid who has 4 out of the 5. There's 5 world records in Super Mario 64. The different amount of stars, 0, 1, 16, 70, and 120. We won't get into all of it. Basically, there's 4 main records or 5 main records, and this 17-year-old kid, like the Zen of Super Mario 64, he has 4 out of the 5 records. He just needs to get 120.
What's his tag?
His tag is Green Sweegie.
Green Sweegie. Okay. I'm like a casual viewer, so I'm not like studying the leaderboard, so I don't know if I've heard that. I watch streamers.
He's kind of new. I mean, he's not really? Like, yeah, he kind of burst on the scene somewhat recently, and then just got all the world records. Like he's had a huge, yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's just zen. He hasn't been around forever, but he's crushing it. And 120 is the longest run, and I think that's probably the reason why he's going to it last. But he's like right now he's prepping and he's practicing all the different stars, and like the whole community is just like, start giving us those juicy runs, but we want to see Zen hit the 5 world records. So
I'm assuming he streams on Twitch.
He streams on Twitch, yeah. Right now he's just streaming his practice, so you'll see like only a couple hundred people. But if he ever does a run, it'll jump to like thousands.
Yeah. I'm actually probably going to be there. Like I'm glad I asked this question because I'm probably going to be keeping an eye on this now to see if this run happens. Because to me that I think that's why we get into commentary too, is we love storytelling. That to me is an awesome story.
Oh, it's a great story. All the YouTubers are just like waiting. They're just biding their time. Like, please, Green Suiji, get it. Because not only does like all of his other records are like really good records too. So I don't think people are even necessarily worried that someone's going to steal one of his other records before he gets the 5th, because his 4 records right now are so good. Like they might, but that's not what people are worried about. People are worried about whether or not he'll actually be able to do 120, which
it does seem like
be able to, but
the holy grail.
Yeah, I like 120 the most. I don't know if everyone else likes 120 the most. I think it's clearly the best.
I mostly only watched one because that's what Clint did, was 120. Mm-hmm. So to me, that is Mario speedrunning.
Right.
Like that's what
I agree.
There we go.
But the difference, the 6-minute run is the 0 star.
Okay.
That's like, he's really good at that. And then it's an hour and 30 minutes for the 120. So it's definitely like a different skill set. The 6-minute runs are just like, almost like eyes closed do them, like that exact movement of every little thing you're supposed to do.
Someone had to have done a blindfold for the 6 minute.
Oh yeah, people have done blindfolded runs. They're obviously much longer, but they're not like they're done completely differently.
Oh, okay.
Obviously. So like you have to like, okay, I know here I run and I run till I hit a wall and then I punch the wall. I can hear that I hit it. It's pretty tough to do truly blindfolded, but the skills for us, people are saying that maybe Green Suiji can't do it, or maybe won't do it, because the skills for a faster run are like maybe not the same as a 120, but he's done 70, which is like 40 minutes. So I don't know. I think he'll do it just eventually. So everyone's waiting.
Well, I'm waiting now too. There's even more people waiting now. Okay, this is it. We got to let you go. One final 5-second question. Did the mustache grow when you had a kid? Like, did it get bigger? Did you noticeably?
Yeah, it's looking a little bit longer. It's looking a little bit longer.
I feel like you get the dad buff.
I was just prepping. Yeah, it used to be a beard, and then I shaved it down to a mustache, almost like as a joke, kind of. My wife always wanted it. Really, I have it because my wife was like, "You should have a mustache," and people always think it's the inverse. They're like, "Oh, your wife probably wants you to get rid of it." I'm like, "No, I kind of been okay with getting rid of it," but she's like, "No, don't." So.
Yeah, no, you got a good stash, man. So be proud of what you got going on there. Anyways, I want to say thanks for joining me. I appreciate you taking your time. Again, I know you're a very busy person, so you giving me this time has been a blast. It's been great to sit down and kind of take a look at your journey.
Yeah, I love setting. I've done a few different podcasts. It's a great way to just hang out for an hour and call it content, which is awesome. So
I love it. Yeah, just hanging out. Now everybody go watch it and hit the subscribe button and hit the follow button and leave a comment down in the comments below of who you want to see next on the podcast. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.